Good day, everyone. My name is James Griffin. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am currently serving as the facilitator for the Component Maintenance Interest Group. These will be a brief series. I apologize. This will be a brief series of updates for where things stand within the community. For those who are interested in getting into contact regarding component maintenance for Ruby gems, one is welcome to directly contact me on Slack. There's also a dedicated Slack channel for addressing component maintenance, and there's currently a component maintenance interest group wiki page. There are no formal members for the interest group. There was a call for participation on Samvera Tech, and should anyone remain interested and available, we always welcome any form of engagement on any level, even just questions or registration of issues is always extremely valuable to everyone in the community. Reviewing engagement throughout autumn of 2022. There has been a call for the deprecation of Ruby components in November. This was posted on the Samvera Tech mailing list. And following this in December, there were also a number of individuals who have volunteered to serve as component product owners. Thank you very much. There is also general interest after engaging with the community in integrating a number of disparate Ruby gems within the GitHub Samvera organization. There are a number of different Ruby gems that basically require quite a bit of overhead in terms of maintenance. And ideally, integrating gems such as Bixby, which is used for style guideline enforcement and for linting of source code files. I'm trying to integrate that into a larger repository while maintaining the current workflow for publishing the gems might be easier and more straightforward when it comes to maintaining the actual repositories on the GitHub organization. I think the site here, the long-term goal is to ensure that administrative overhead is reduced and there's less of a need to try and map a one GitHub repository to one single person. There have also been a number of discussions that are still ongoing within the robot alignments group. Thank you very much, everyone who has led those and who has engaged. And I cannot emphasize how grateful I am for Hyrax developers and community Samvera developers, everyone who has engaged with me and the group, even though they haven't formally been members, Chris Kovar, Daniel Pierce, Jonathan Broshkind, Alexandra Dunn, Tamsin Johnson, and of course to everyone who has volunteered as a Samvera product owner. Thank you again. It's all greatly appreciated. So for the summer of 2023, the hope for engagement is that I'm going to look to try and propose a set of weekly office hours. Believe that I have a set number of hours that I can pledge, but just ensuring that there's general availability for pairing, just allocating time also to ensure that I can look to undertake maintenance tasks. Also ensure that this time can be used for onboarding and just general, increasing inclusivity and things of this nature for individuals who might be looking for smaller tasks to undertake as new developers to the community. Also, I would like to try on a more conceptual level, try to engage more with the community and see about reevaluating priorities and objectives. Right now, there's really the concept of a component has been extremely valuable, but I'd be curious to know, as I'm seeing more and more JavaScript projects, I've been seeing serverless projects within the Samvera GitHub organization. Should core components remain tightly coupled to Ruby, or perhaps exploring widening or broadening the definition of component to maybe encompass Samvera gems, Samvera packages, Samvera images, and things of this nature. Perhaps that's something that could be readily evaluated. And in that sense, we can also try to align our priorities with those undertaking work in JavaScript. In addition to this, trying to also allocate time for documentation cleaning and just general updates. And also raising the possibility of automated security audits. I know of two services, Snyk and GitHub CodeQL. I believe that both of these have a free tier of service, and included within this is an automated set of features that can readily identify vulnerabilities introduced by just say pinning to an unsupported release of a gem, or in the case of JavaScript projects, a package release. So these are the updates that I currently have. When it comes to communication, please all contact is welcome on either the Samvera Slack channel. The tech mailing list is also available, and of course, by all means, please, you can readily identify me. Contact me on Slack via direct message, and I'd be happy to work with you and try to address any and all current needs. Thank you very much for your attention, time, and patience, everyone.
Thanks, James. We've got a question in the Q&A. Have any Samvera components / gems been depreciated already through the recent process?
Formally, no. I believe there's still, I believe every single gem that was in question actually, that actually isn't going to be deprecated. I don't believe that there's going to be too many deprecations regarding the essentials like IIIF manifests and things like this. So fortunately, we do have product owners identified.
Excellent. Yeah, there are some questions about that in the Slack chat as well. Thank you. Thanks for all those updates.
Thank you again.
I don't see any other Q&A. Our next update is from the Bulkrax interest group, and I have Braden listed as the updater for that.
Hey everyone, yeah, I'm just trying to share my screen here. It doesn't like that I'm full screen. Okay, interesting. My apologies. It really doesn't like that I'm trying. I have multiple monitors going on. So, alrighty, I'm just going to share this screen and then hopefully, okay. Can you all see my presentation then? Or, yeah.
Yep, I see it.
Yep, excellent, good. All right, perfect. Sorry for the confusion there. Yeah, my name is Braden. I work at SoftServe by Scientist, and I'm here to give you just an update on the Bulkrax interest group and what's been going on in Bulkrax lately. Yeah, so let's get started off. First big thing that has changed recently, or since the last Virtual Connect, was relationships. Relationships are run now in a separate job. The jobs can all be run in parallel, and they run after the initial import has completed. They're scheduled to wait until they see all the importer jobs finish and check for that, and then run the relationships job. As the importers run through and import the works, we create a pending relationships object that records all the relevant information about the relationship, including the child order, which I know was a bit of an issue, because if you have a CSV and you have your work and your order of pages for like a book, say, you obviously want them to import in the correct order, and sometimes with things running in parallel, they will they'll import in the wrong order. So we've actually set it up so that it records the order and it will import in the correct order for you, so that you don't have any issue with pages getting swapped. And then we also created a service to remove the relationships for dev testing. So if you've got a dev environment and you want to test relationships on, you can then remove them and retest the relationships. Yeah. Ooh, okay. There we go. Export changes. We've now moved to using what we call a parser export record set for exports. And this is a single set that will gather all the entries from Solar and set them all up, or gather the info from Solar, set up all the entries for export, and it can be used for all the exporter formats that we have, at least built into Bulkrax. And the exports can now be larger. They're not limited by the Solar query size. We did this so that it kind of reduces duplication of code across all the different parsers. So now all the export code is in one parser. The other benefit is you're not looking through all these different locations for export code. You know, is it in this part of the model? Is it in this part of the parser? All the main export stuff is handled in the parser export record set to gather up those entries. So you get just a set return from that service, and you can go ahead and export from there. So that should hopefully simplify things for people who are developing in Bulkrax. And yeah, so we hope that that makes things easier for y'all. Some of the new features is, I'm not sure if this was part of the last version Connect update, but you can import file set metadata now if you have set that up in your Hierax or Haiku instance. So you can actually include file sets as a line on a CSV, and they'll import and be connected via the relationships. They can have metadata so that you can set titles as well as any other metadata you've added onto the file set. So if you want creators or anything like that, you can add that onto the file set and you can include that in your CSV and it will import that for you. Collections and file sets can now be deleted via the CSV. Since you can put them on separate lines and import them with metadata, you can also delete them in the same way that you would delete a work. There's better error messages now and improved parser testing so that hopefully things will run smoother for everyone who's got Bulkrax installed and have a better idea of what's going on wrong if something goes wrong. But hopefully with the improved parser testing that came with the that export parser set and everything, there will be less issues overall for everyone. So I'm very excited about that. There's on the importer show page for a specific importer, there's actually separate tabs for the works, file sets, and collections because they can all be imported with metadata. They all create their own entries and everything in Bulkrax. So they're all separated out there. So if one thing fails, you can actually see, oh, it's the file set that failed on that. Oh, I forgot to include the file, and that's why. And it doesn't make your entire work fail. It's just the single file set, so you can correct that one thing. Baggett code was rewritten and run smoother, which is nice. So it should collect things and create bags a lot quicker and easier for you. And the export downloads can now be split by size. This was definitely a very requested feature because of the fact that some people were trying to do exports of 20 gigs with all the files and everything, and creating a zip of that size and trying to pass that through the browser is not the easiest thing, does not work very smoothly. So we've set it up so the downloads can be split by size, so they'll actually provide you with multiple zips split up, so you can go ahead and download the multiple zips and get all your stuff and not have to worry about a massive file being created there. It's now possible to create customized permissions to access Bulkrax UI. So you can specify whether or not someone has the ability to create importers or create exporters, or run importers or run exporters, and that is just two lines in your ability file, or two methods in your ability file that you can add as part of the upgrade notes for Bulkrax. And that will sort of allow you a bit more fine-tuned control over who can do what in Bulkrax. We're also we also now account for more like common mistakes when it comes to importing QA fields. So for something like write statements, if you're using HTTP or HTTPS, it will detect that, and it looks at things like trailing slashes and corrects for that. so that less errors when you actually get the work imported and the QA field doesn't quite match, just slightly off of what's in the QA YAML. It should correct for that now. And then the last thing here on my agenda is the customizable object factory, works list, file set class, and relationship job variables. So what we have done is we have set it up so that in your initializer, you can specify what the module name is for each one of those things. They default to their, original defaults that were in Bulkrax. But if you want to use Bulkrax in a situation where you want to write a new object factory, or you aren't wanting to use the hierarchs.config.curation concerns work list, you want to specify your own work list, you have a different type of file set class, or you want to build your own relationships job because your relationships are more complex than standard relationships, then you can actually do that, and you can set all the module names in your Bulkrax initializer, and then just add those files, those custom files, to your app, and it will automatically pull in the correct files for you and run your object factory or your works list or your relationships jobs. So yeah, that's it for me. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Brayden. It's exciting. I don't see anything in the Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you for the update.
Perfect. Yeah. And if anyone has any other questions in the future for me, I am in the Samvera Slack, and you can definitely post them in the Bulkrax channel there, and I will likely see them.
All right, I'm going to hand it over now to Brian McBride for an update from the Research Data Working Group.
Thank you, Heather. Just share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, looks great.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Just here to give an update on the Samvera Research Data Working Group and the work that the group has done over the past while. The group was chartered last year we're trying to evaluate 4 core focuses: gather environmental information regarding who's using Samvera software in the community and outside the community, document community interest in research data repository features, document the current state of Samvera software for research data purposes, and capture existing and possible future use cases. So we drafted a survey. It was set up in 3 stages. There was a survey that was specifically targeted for Samvera community members who utilize Samvera software already and have used the Samvera stack for research data purposes. And there was also one that was for those either in the community or outside the community who are aware of Samvera and chose to use a different product other than the Samvera stack. And then the third group was anyone who's currently looking for research data repository services or applications, and what it is that they're looking for and how they're evaluating that. So we put the survey together and we distributed it to this sort of the community list, Data Curation Network, the Google group for Data Cure, Code for Lib, Blacklight, and a few other groups. So we got a fair number of responses. There was over 60 responses, which we thought was pretty good. So 11 of those responses did not currently provide data repository services. 22 were using a product other than the Samvera to provide the research data repository services. 14, however, were using a Samvera-based application for repository data services. There was some duplicate information or incomplete, and we did receive 16 responses from Samvera partners. So just to start off, why organizations did not choose Samvera. One of the things that we heard, there was a common theme, was extensive development work was required to support the Samvera stack in terms of supporting research data needs compared to other services like Dataverse and DSpace. There was the lack of in-house capacity to migrate and support the Samvera product. And sort of the challenges that I think we all see is retaining and recruiting software developers. So that was one thing I was trying to recruit developers who are work with Samvera. And a few other things just to continue on that was handling larger data deposits. We heard a lot of feedback from that. Lack of metadata schema for describing research data, lack of in-app curation features, and support for bulk upload for research data sets. So we saw some of these themes. And the other thing what we noticed is that there's this impression that the applications don't do certain things when in fact they actually do. So something we need to talk about as a community. Some of the concerns, community level concerns, research data has never really been a core use case for Samvera compared to other applications. The pending support for Valkyrie and Hyrax, that was mentioned as a big thing because I know a lot of us are very hopeful for the completion of the integration of Valkyrie and Hyrax. And then there was this other comment, lack of dominant institutions. Samvera is both a benefit, but it is potentially a liability if there's a single entity moving the community forward. And as we like to say, we try to move together. So onto the good things, but Samvera was chosen, open source and community supported. I think that's a really important thing to note is a lot of the reasons folks chose Samvera is for the community and the applications. There's autonomy and flexibility to develop and tailor to local needs. I know a lot of institutions have built specific functionality on top of Hyrax for their research data needs. Samvera compared favorably compared to other open source solutions. And there was also familiarity with the Samvera stack and the code base. And this was some of the features. What features are missing from the Samvera applications? Ability to upload and preserve the hierarchy of research data and complex files organization. That was mentioned quite a few times. Improve metadata and support integration of external identifiers, including ORCID, DOI, ROR, and grant IDs. Support for larger data sets, deposit level usage stats, peer review management, including option to receive feedback and curated via the application. Things just continued versioning capability for collections requiring any additions or revisions after publication, and support for automatically generated citations, and better browsing options for the data sets. With that, I just want to extend my gratitude and thanks to everyone who served on the committee over the past few months. The final report will be done by the end of this month. I promise that. So we have one more meeting that we'll get on the books and we'll publish the report that includes a lot more data than I was able to put into this short presentation. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me either on Slack or my email. And yeah, if there's any questions, let me know.